Assalamu alaikum. Welcome my dear students again to your English classes. In this video we're going to have language focus 2 in your student book page or pages 79 and 105 in your workbook page 70. Today we have one objective, which is learn how to form second conditional questions. Last time we had negative and affirmative forms for the second conditional sentences. Today we're going to learn the interrogative form or how to form second conditional questions. So please open your student book page 79. As you can see, our title is second conditional questions. We have to complete the examples here from the listening on page 78. Let's start. What would you do if you saw someone cheating? And if you found a wallet, what would you do? As the same thing. Look here, what would? Here we asked by the WH questions and would, then subject, verb infinitive, then F part. Here we started by the F part. If you found a wallet, comma, what would you do? Next one, yes or no questions. We can ask by would. So, if someone sent you a horrible message on your phone, would you tell a teacher? The short answer will be yes, I would, or yes, you would, yes, he would, and so on. What about the next question? Tell your parents if you failed at an exam. The answer will be yes, I would, or no, I wouldn't. Now please move quickly to page 105. Last time we had affirmative and negative forms. Today we're going to have the question form or interrogative form. Look here at the table. We have imaginary situation and possible consequence. Here in the second conditional sentences, we can ask in the what part or the possible consequence. We can't ask by F. So the form of the F part, F, subject, past simple. What about the question in the possible consequence? We can ask by would. So would you lend me? Would plus subject, then the verb infinitive and the complement. We can start by the possible consequence. So we can ask by would your dad take us to the concert if you asked him? You have to put the question mark at last. Here we have 1 point. We form questions using F plus past simple, comma, would or wouldn't. You can ask by wouldn't plus subject, then the verb, finally the question mark. Like, if I told you a secret. This is the F part. Would you promise not to tell? Or, if I didn't reply to your messages, wouldn't you get angry? So we can ask by wouldn't. Finally, wouldn't life be better if we had a 5-day weekend? Here we asked by wouldn't. Now we have to complete the questions with would and the correct form of the verbs in the box. We have here an example. If you had a dog, what would you call it? Let's move to the next. If you didn't feel ill, where? Of course, would. Where would you go today? Next, number 3. What time would we arrive if we caught the earlier train? Here, the verb must be in past simple. Number 4. If you If you what? Catch, say, can, need. So, if you could be a character from a film, who would you be? 5. If he asked you to go out, would you say yes? Number 6. Who would you ask if you needed to borrow some money? Now let's move to the next question, which is write second conditional questions with a prompt. We have here an example. We share a bedroom. How often we argue? So, if we shared a bedroom, comma, how often would we argue? Number 2, they like it. I stop speaking to them. Would they like it if I stopped speaking to them? What about number 3? What? His parents say they know. So what would his parents say if they knew? Next is you can have a superpower. What it be? So if you could have a superpower, what would it be? Next, you live in England. Come here often? So, if you lived in England, would you come home often? Finally, you be me what you do. So, if you were me, what would you do? Now, please move back to page 79. Let's start with exercise number 2. Look at the chart. Choose the correct words to complete the sentences. As you can see, all of these sentences are questions, so we have to choose the correct word. What would you do? We can't ask by did, so we must choose would. What would you do if you were? So present past simple, if you were the head teacher of your school. What about number 2? If your best friend didn't or wouldn't, of course didn't, because we used past simple and didn't with the negative form. In F part, invite you to his or her birthday, what did or what would? We ask by would, so what would you say? Number 3, if your family lived in an English-speaking country, did or would your lives be very different? Yes, of course, would your lives. Number 4, what job would your teacher do if he or she wasn't a teacher? Number 5, if your grandparents lived in the USA, would you go to visit them? Now we have to complete the conversation with the correct form of the verbs in brackets. Then we're going to listen and check our answers. Can I ask you a few questions? Yes, sure. Okay, first question. What would you do or did? Of course, do. What would you do if you won a TV talent show? So do and won. Next, and if you had a party, where would you have it? So had and would have. Next one, which is number 5, if you, with the if part we use past simple, so if you could be famous, what would you be? The verb with in the would or in would part must be infinitive, so could and would be. Next one, 7, last question, if you, with the negative form we used in the if part, didn't. So if you didn't have to go to school, what would you do all day? So didn't have to and would do. That's all. Now we're going to listen and check the answers.
CD 2, track 30. check. Can I ask you a few questions?
Yes, sure.
Okay, first question. What would you do if you won a TV talent show?
Well, I think I'd have a huge party with all my friends and family.
And if you had a party, where would you have it?
I'd definitely have it on a beach, if I could.
Okay, second question. If you could be famous, what would you be?
I don't know. I'd like to be a singer, maybe.
Okay, last question. If you didn't have to go to school, what would you do all day?
Oh, that's easy. I'd play my guitar, listen to music, and spend time with my friends.
Thank you.
Now please move to your workbook, page 70. We have the first question. We have to put the words in correct order to make questions. Here we have example. At, you, they, prize, you, school, comma, if, what, won. So we have to order the questions. If you won a prize at school, what would they give you? Next one. Here we have would. So, you have to start by would because would in capital letters. So, would you tell your parents if you got detention? What about number 3? Look here, if in the capital with the capital letter, and we have comma, so we have to start by if part. So if you could change one school rule, what would it be? Number 4 and number 5. Or let's do number 4. You have, or your homework is number 5 and number 6. Here we can see would in capital letters, so we have to start by would. Would you make a friend quickly if you went to another school? You have to complete 5 and 6 as the same way. Here we have to match the answers with the questions in exercise number 2. So the first question with D, they would give me a book and certificate. Number 2 with C, no, I wouldn't. Number 3 with A, would start class at 11 o'clock, not 8 o'clock. What about 4 with E? Yes, I would. I'm quite sociable. When you made questions in exercise number 1, you have to match the answers here. Now let's move to exercise 3. We have to complete the conversation, use the correct form of the verbs in brackets or short answers. Here we have in the bracket you, be, so would you be? Here F part, so past simple. If you were a teacher, would you be strict? Number 4, no. So no, I wouldn't. Definitely, I prefer teacher who don't punish you. Number 5, I'm not sure. What would you do if the student didn't listen to you? I don't know. Would you give a detention? Probably the student. So probably would the students would the students respect you less if you didn't give them detention? You have to complete the conversation. The last question under phrasal verb heading. You can go to the next lesson if you need help. I wrote out all the names. Would you like to try on or to try out a new computer? Number 3, small children pick up a lot of new words. Number 4, I spent hours thinking about it, I couldn't work out. The last one is the teacher found out they were cheating. That's all in our class. Next time, please prepare your next lesson, which is reading in your student book, page 80. See you next time. Goodbye.